Saying it each time, Rick Klein. Every day something else happens. We think, well, it can't get any weirder, and it gets weirder. But does this help or hurt Donald Trump in South Carolina?
Yeah, it's almost like Donald Trump ran out of high-profile people to have a fight with, so the Pope had to get involved. I actually think it might help him. I don't see a scenario where voters who were considering Trump are suddenly going to say, you know what the Pope said gives me pause. First of all, we're talking about an evangelical Christian population for the most part among South Carolina Republicans, not Catholics. Secondly, I think it underscores one of Donald Trump's appeals, which is that he's not politically correct, that he's saying and doing things that are seen as coming from strength. And if the Pope is angered by that, I think that Donald Trump meets that with his own anger, and that's what he's tapped into. And I don't think I just don't think a large mass of voters are going to abandon him over this.
We did, however, see him respond with a pre-written statement that he read from the podium, which shows you how his people said, whatever you say, you've got to say it exactly the way we want it said.
Yeah, it was a stark difference from what the usual shoot from the hip style that you see from Trump. He wanted to get this right. He realized that it was a big moment. But frankly, I do think it's a moment that he can turn to his advantage. We're talking about this as opposed to more scrutiny on his plans or his position on abortion or his position on the Iraq war. Usually he has to create his own distractions right before voting starts. This time he had the Pope himself do it.
Yeah, and since this is his signature message, the Pope sort of has now given him a pass to talk about this leading up to this South Carolina primary.
100%. And don't get me wrong, I don't think any politician wants to have his or her religion questioned by the Pope himself. But I do think that in the context of this particular race at this particular time, this is a good thing. Now, it's possible that more broadly, as people focus on what Trump has said and done, and the other candidates bore in a little bit to say he's not someone who represents Christian values or your Christian values or your conservative values, maybe it has a longer-term impact. But I just don't think it changes votes in South Carolina tomorrow.
Rick Klein, lots of movement going on in the polls. Anything big this morning we should know?
No. I mean, I think right now it looks like Trump has a strong lead in South Carolina, maybe a little bit narrower than we've seen. I think all the jockeying is going to be for 2, 3, 4. A lot of buzz that Marco Rubio could move into a second-place finish, which would be a big blow to Ted Cruz. Cruz probably assured of a top 3 finish. And then beyond that, how far down does Jeb Bush finish? I mean, he has spent more money. His super PAC spent more money than all the other super PACs almost combined in South Carolina. He brought his brother in. He's bringing his mother in. It's pulling out all the stops for Jeb Bush. And if he finishes a distant 4th or worse, it's going to be hard to see how that campaign continues. That
new ad, is that Ted Cruz ad against Marco Rubio claiming that he speaks the president's words. How much play is that getting down in South Carolina?
Oh, I think it's significant. I mean, I think that this is a critical argument against him. And, Rubio has come back to say these are dirty tricks, But if you put those images out there, even the Photoshopped image that's getting some play online of Rubio and Obama shaking hands, something that didn't happen, not that way anyway, then that I think feeds exactly into what Ted Cruz is trying to say about Marco Rubio, is that he's another Obama, would even further the Obama policies.
Yeah. Rick Klein, ABC News Political Director. Thanks, Rick. Have a good day.
Hey, thank you.
You got it. 625 here, Big 550, KTRS. Let me tell you about Super Beats, because if you like energy drinks in the